Butterflies fill my spine, I feel myself getting hot again. Nerves rushing through my brain, yeah, they can't hear fiber from the trees. You're standing by his side, red drops burning down your face. You're real close now, baby. Holy fuck, I feel it with you. I lose self-control. Now I found that you're not one to hear me now. You got me on my knees begging for your lady. And like a fool to stand around and let you blame me. And I'm riding in the sky to the heavens like an
Hi, my name is Leo Connors, and welcome to The Ring and All Other Sports. Tonight, I got two special guests. Attorney Nick Carrozza. I butchered it.
Carrozza.
See, anybody that watches the show knows I'm horrible with names. And Brian Privitera. Brian.
How you doing?
Great. You guys are fresh off a victory in court. Let's get right into this. Ryan Andrews wants to know, for Nick, what made you step away from the ring?
So, a couple of things. I was in the heat of law school. I was about 2 years in a 3-year program. I was swamped. Just had way too much to do. I also met my wife, who was then my fiance at that time. And I also, selfishly, I could have been that wrestler that showed up once a month, did this, shook the hand, ate the hot dog, left.
Right.
Didn't contribute. And I felt guilty about that a lot.
Kind of like what I did for most of my career.
I always just felt so guilty that I couldn't commit to dates when they wanted me. And so if I couldn't give 100% to the business, I was doing it a disservice. So I made the conscious decision to step away, focus on my legal career, my soon-to-be wife.
Yep.
Life has a funny way of saying, hey, you got to hang them up. And that's ultimately what happened.
Sounds like you made the right choice anyways, really.
Okay.
Ryan Drew wants to know, I want to know Nick's take on the Karen Reed case.
Oh, H2O wants to know about the the case.
My girlfriend would like to hear this too.
What a case.
Because she was into this case.
So
It's not over yet.
I know.
isn't.
Holy moly.
And hopefully it will be if they're smart enough.
Right.
But ultimately, do I think she's totally innocent? No. Do I think the state police, and I have friends who are state police officers, it's not against them,
Right.
It's a certain group of them, shoddy investigation, legally speaking, the evidence just isn't there to convict her. I do think that she is not the most culpable person in that room, at that party, at that house. So do I believe she was rightfully, she wasn't acquitted, but should she have been found guilty? No.
My girlfriend's going to like that answer because she agrees with that. All right, listen, how did you guys both meet?
So we both went to Central Catholic High School.
Okay.
Private high school out of Lawrence, Mass. Yep. It's one of those places, it's got a lot of tradition.
Right.
It's a resume builder. I've been told by, when I worked in EMS, by, 30-year paramedics, they went, you went to Central Catholic? So
It's a good school. A lot of kids from Enloe went there.
yeah, it's a great school. And we had a mutual teacher, and I was long gone. I graduated in 01.
Okay.
And when I think it was his junior or senior year, he had taken a class, and they were talking about, what do you want to do when you get older? What are your dreams or whatever? And from what I understand, Nick had brought up becoming a pro wrestler. And the mutual teacher that we had, Ron Russo, had explained to his class, we had somebody that graduated from here that went on to wrestling.
Wow.
Because, what a lot of people don't realize about me is that when I was a senior in high school, I was sneaking off to kill the Kowalskis on Thursdays. And I was hiding from my parents that I wanted to be a wrestler.
Right.
So very early on, I knew that I wanted to at least try it out.
Yep.
And Ron Russo put us in contact. We met. We started going over basics.
Yep.
Bumping, moving around, positioning. which he had already had a grasp on because he's a tremendous athlete. And we've been friends ever since.
Nice.
Going on 20 years.
Nice. Did you find tucking the chin was the hardest thing to learn though? Like, because that's, to me it would be. You know what I mean? Because you're not used to falling backwards or anything. You know what I mean? And you're used to putting your hands out if you fall forward.
You got to make it second nature. Like it's like when you slip on the ice in the winter.
Exactly.
If you tuck in your head, then you know.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I didn't find it to be too difficult. I think a good backdrop to that story is I was already starting to train with Steve Bradley up at WFA.
Oh, nice,
So his school at Candia Road.
Yeah.
My parents got me a newspaper. It had an ad for a fantasy camp.
Yeah.
I went up there. I did the fantasy camp. I think the people teaching it were, who can forget Steve walking around with the big dip in his lip, trying to point people out who's doing what. But the Shanes, Scott Guerin was teaching, Brendan Locke was teaching. So really a great group.
Yeah.
I think John Poe and Kathy were there.
Nice.
So it was like
it's a good
primo
crew.
talent. I had a match with a Jeff Hardy wannabe, same arm sleeves, long hair, same deal. Steve pulled me aside afterwards and said, hey, you have a lot of real raw talent. You should certainly sign up. I begged my parents to pay the $2,000, whatever it was, to go to the school. And I had just gotten my license, so I started really going up, I think, Tuesdays and Thursdays, putting the ring up, putting it down. Steve was, again, it was about 6 months before Steve passed away, so I only had a little bit of exposure. Then the school shut down, and I was basically without a trainer. So what did I do? I bought my own ring, and I put it in my parents' backyard.
Yeah, he did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dedicated.
Yeah, from Mike Samples. A Mike Samples ring.
Yeah.
Bought it for about...
Mike Samples from down south. Wow, from Tennessee and all
I
that.
found him online. I said, hey, I got $3,000. I bought a 12 by 12 ring, put it in my backyard, and it was at that point where we got in touch.
Yeah.
And we really made a name for ourselves a little bit.
I was, a lot of people don't really know this, but, Steve and I had a really good relationship.
Yeah.
And I was speaking to Steve long after I had met Nick. And I started running a couple shows, and I did run a few shows.
Nice.
And Steve was gonna, lend me the ring.
Yep.
And he was gonna come, and then we lost contact. And at the time, because I was a lot younger, I wasn't, privy to what was going on.
Yeah.
And I just always looked up to the guy.
Right.
But there was plans in place for Steve to come in and continue to work with Nick and myself, and it just never happened, unfortunately.
Nice. Just to piggyback real quick, that Jeff Hardy wannabe, was that Vinny Marsaglia?
No.
Because Vinny, that's what he did when he first broke in the business.
No.
He was he like Jeff Hardy.
Yeah, at that point it was just another, kid like me just hoping to live out the dream for one day.
That's cool. And that was no knock on Vinny at all, man, because Vinny's killing it.
Vinny's great.
He really is.
Yeah.
All right. So that question, how did you both meet? I forgot to say it was from Caleb Evans. But Caleb has another one for both of you. What was the biggest shock moment in the courtroom? Was there anything that shocked you other than me, not knowing what I was doing there? Honestly,
You provided a lot of comedic relief.
I definitely did.
Which
The
everybody,
judge was cracking up.
Everybody needed it at that point in the trial.
That's good.
Well, I can say the biggest shock for me wasn't during court. It was during my investigation. I discovered that there was another phone number because the whole case was about them trying to crack an anonymous Twitter account, a burner, essentially.
Butterscotch Boss?
The Butterscotch Boss.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which I had never even seen on Twitter. I saw Jack Ryan after McCheese went away.
Right.
But I did not see that one.
We're gonna talk about Mayor McCheese, and we'll get to that.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get
But it's
to
in
that.
the same vein as Mayor McCheese. No different than going on the Burning Hammer and seeing everybody trying to put themselves over, you know? So this account came out, and they were trying to figure out who it was. And to their credit, they tried to do a password reset. And what they're claiming is that when they did the password reset, the last digits of the phone number were 59. Well, during my investigation, I uncovered that one of Chase Del Monte's relatives also has a phone number ending in 59. So I thought to myself, well,
an immediate relative.
Yeah.
That's kind of an odd coincidence. Now, am I saying he did this? No, of course, most of what we're saying is opinion, not fact, just to cover ourselves from a legal standpoint. But That to me was shocking, and I don't think they knew that I knew that, or they were prepared for me to discover that in trial, which ultimately caused a lot of problems for their legal team. Right. But I think there are other things that maybe you can attest to that was surprising.
You know, there was when this first happened, right? When this whole thing blew up.
Yeah.
I was very angry.
Right.
Okay. And it's 2020. Pat Dillon, who's a good friend of mine, gave me a call and said, "Listen, you know, Kevin's online on Twitter, you know, exposing you and saying that you're behind these accounts."
Right.
I couldn't see it because I didn't have Twitter.
Yeah.
It's the only platform that I haven't had.
Okay.
Now all I have is Instagram and Snapchat.
Right.
You know, because I have an 18-year-old that I like to keep an eye on.
Yeah,
okay?
absolutely.
But I couldn't quite grasp why Kevin never reached out to me to ask me directly, "Hey, are you behind this?" You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
it wasn't like you didn't have any relationship. You had a relationship. Well, you guys knew of each other, though.
Well, actually, to touch upon that, we only met once.
Right, and you wrestled at UFO.
Right, so that was the first time we've met.
Right,
and the first time that we ever did business together.
Okay,
and I was very excited about that because I contacted him about the match and the reason why, he's a professional.
Yep.
He knows his stuff.
Yep.
I knew he'd take care of me.
Yep.
I did
100%.
not expect him to show up in the mood that he was in that day.
Right.
He was not happy when he showed up. He did not want to wrestle me.
Wow.
He wasn't happy with the way the ring was built. He was in a mood.
Yeah.
And I didn't expect that. And that kind of threw me off a little bit.
Yeah.
But it became kind of apparent to me that he was trying to extort me.
Right.
And I had given some very personal financial information to Kevin Quinn.
Okay. Yep.
Okay.
The ref.
And I think that Kevin went to Kevin and said he might be a target for some money.
Wow.
Okay, because I know that there was money put into the school, money lost, some type of financial peril.
Right.
I don't really know, but it became very clear to me that they were trying to extort money, or at least in my opinion, they were trying to do that.
Right.
But being somebody, I'm a sworn member of law enforcement in the state of New Hampshire. I have to act a certain way.
Right.
I have to higher standard.
Yep.
So I couldn't contact him. We couldn't hash this out. I had to just be silent for 4 years, which I did.
Wow. That's tough to do.
I think the biggest shock moment for me during the trial was when basically they tried to interrupt. I think you were cross-examining Kevin.
Yeah, if you want me to quickly just explain the situation.
Put this in legal terminology.
Yeah. So we had Kevin on the stand. His lawyers, they go first.
Right.
Direct examination. Right. So they finished their direct examination. Now we're getting into later in the day. There was probably about 45 minutes to an hour left.
It's like 12:30 in the afternoon at that time.
We did half-day trials.
Okay.
It goes from 9 to 1.
Yep.
And then you break and come back the next day. So I was doing my cross-examination. We had taken a break. I think the jurors were tired, bathroom break, whatever. It was brought up before the jury came back in that there was a pressing issue, that Bradley Lewis was here. They didn't know if he was going to come back the next week because it was a Friday afternoon.
Right.
And so they raised to the judge that there was a serious concern that we don't know if he's going to come back to testify. So he has to speak today, or else we might lose him. And he's only here for one small little detail about the UFO show, how he saw allegedly he gave him a drink backstage, and you're the only person that saw it, which...
Oh, a shot of booze.
Right.
Which
So
ultimately
Bradley
wasn't
Lewis,
true.
that is Charlie Cash.
Charlie Cash.
Yeah, I don't like that guy. But
So-
that's I don't. I'm sorry.
I told Chase before our match, I say, I'm just going to let you know I laid in.
Yeah.
So I expected back from you.
Yep.
He got mad that I stiffed him. So he said that I hit him a little too hard. So we get through the curtain.
You had it back, right? That's what you're supposed to do.
He started screaming at me right in front of Johnny Vegas. Wow. And he was just ripping me apart. And
That's horrible.
Good.
So the judge, thinking that he was a fly-by-night, just said, okay, you know what? Like, he's here for one fact. He's going to state that fact. Attorney Carrozza, you'll have the opportunity to cross-examine him quickly. And so it's now 12:50-ish, if I recall. And so we're very close to breaking for the day, for the weekend. And they talked to Bradley.
Yep.
I keep wanting to say Brad or Cashew. I'm trying to use the real names. I don't want to get anybody confused. They direct examine him. I get up, and I'm going through just routine questions. He had mentioned that he shared the same address as Chase.
Which everyone looks, even the judge was kind of like, did he just say the same address as Chase? Yeah. So now we're thinking, okay, they're roommates.
Right. That's what you immediately think at first.
No problem.
Yep.
And it surprised me because on the subpoenas and all of the court documents, he's listed as living in Revere. So when that came up, it sort of perked my ears. So I investigated him on that. I said, okay, well, so that means you're living with Chase, correct? And then you want to take it from here?
Yeah. And then
I asked what the nature of your relationship was.
My lawyer and friend said, what is the nature of your relationship to the defendant? To which he replied, we're married.
The plaintiff.
The plaintiff, I'm sorry.
They're married.
So, and even the judge was just like, what's going on here?
Right.
Like,
and the jury must have been saying that too, like to themselves.
Right.
Well, it's an issue of bias,
right?
Because now you have a guy that's here testifying who nobody knows that they're related.
Right.
And now the bigger issue is that their counsel just told the judge that they didn't know if he was going to come back next week. They didn't know if he was dependable. He was a fly-by-night.
Right.
And the judge wasn't too happy to find out that he very easily could come back the next week because they live together. What's keeping them from him coming back on Monday or Tuesday? Yeah. And so that was an issue that they're probably still ironing out with the court. But that by far was
I believe that the terminology the judge used, and this is kind of embarrassing. I mean, I wouldn't want to be accused of this. She looked at Kevin and his attorneys and said, you guys tried to fraud the court.
Wow, the judge said that.
Okay, so
I like the judge. She was really cool.
Yeah,
she was funny.
That's not really something you want to do in a court of law.
And I just want to point out too that this trial, you can ask for the trial transcript. Right. I mean, so it's all public.
Everything's all public
at this point.
Right.
And that's the thing is, I did not come here to bash Kevin. Okay. I had every intention on having a very long relationship with him business-wise when we first met.
Yep.
Okay. I had some ideas.
Yep.
Being one of the first students that signed up at the Chaotic Training Center way back in the day.
Right.
I still kind of feel for the place.
Yeah.
Of course. I don't want to see any wrestling companies go under.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I got to keep reminding myself that this guy tried to destroy everything that I've built.
Yeah, and that ain't right.
Okay? He tried to come after me, and literally, I mean, in the 4 years that this, went to trial, I had, 2 children. Okay, I, acquired another degree through college.
Right.
I went to an academy.
Yeah,
graduated.
Right.
The whole time this is in the back of my mind, and I had to work through these obstacles, and I did it. It wasn't difficult.
Right.
But the whole time I'm thinking, this guy is trying to collapse me.
Yeah.
Like, what is he trying to do?
Right.
Why me?
Right.
Of all people.
Yep.
It made no sense.
Right.
Still makes no sense.
And the other thing too, we should point out that this whole thing is about the butterscotch boss and how the butterscotch boss said all these things and caused such irreparable harm to Chase and his business and the school, the promotion. But they conveniently like to leave out the fact that their head trainer at the time, Brian Fury, was that big allegation.
Right.
And I'm not here to bury Fury. I like Fury.
I like Brian a lot too.
I do too.
I like him a lot too, but it happened. It happened.
Yeah. So, that was an important thing to bring up to the jury to say, this scandal happened. It's not just whatever this one burner account said on Twitter. It's much bigger than that.
Yeah. Right. And I think we all remember the posts that the accuser had accused Brian of.
Right.
Again, at the end of the day, Brian was never taken to court. Brian was never prosecuted.
Right.
I'm not saying that what that girl said what we shouldn't take seriously.
Right.
But he was never kind of tried for anything.
Right.
So, we can only kind of...
And it really was more verbal than anything with
exactly.
Brian, like what really bothered me about that case was how he would look at the person and go, I see, you're so uncomfortable. To me, that was wrong.
Right.
You know what I mean? You don't say that to people.
Right.
But he did do other things that a lot of people that were called out for.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't think he did anything physical.
Right.
I think it was all mental.
Right.
A lot of people mention to me, you've been quiet for the past 4 years. You kind of disappeared. That was a strategy. I'm going to tell you why. I knew I had to kind of sit back and be quiet and disappear. Because while I did that, chaotic wrestling grew and it flourished.
Yes, it did.
And it showed that I didn't damage the company.
Right, exactly.
Because do you remember during COVID when he was running those shows at the school?
Yeah.
Charging $45 a ticket?
That was ridiculous.
You know what I mean? So
I didn't go to one of them. And I was a fan of chaos back then.
Kevin's been making plenty of money. He's doing just fine.
Yeah, he is.
I'm sure it cost a lot to put that gym there.
Right.
And I get that you maybe want to make a little of that money back.
Yep.
But
Allegedly.
again, it's, actually, hold on. Going back on what was the biggest shock moment.
Yeah.
I think that, so after Cashew was up on the stand, then Chase gets back on and he's justifying the marriage. And his exact words were, there was no ceremony. It was nothing romantic. We got married for insurance purposes. Again, you're saying this in a court of law. In a court of law. Wow. You're in front of a judge who 30 years on the bench.
Right.
The judge looked at him and went, what? That's fraud.
See, listen, you hung on to that
Allegedly.
for 4 years, right? And I can tell you why, because you're smart. Honestly, I know you are. You know what I mean? And he obviously isn't that smart to say something like that on the stand.
I hope that doesn't bite him in the butt.
No, I hope not either. I hear you.
Yeah.
Listen, and I said it when I was on the thing. They asked me you asked me how his company was doing. It's flourishing.
Yeah.
He's got a great school. He's got a great company. Everything's going good.
Right.
And then when the guy said to me, his lawyer said, oh, you were so happy to post it on Facebook. I said, I didn't smile or anything. I said, I thought it was a joke. That's why I put it out there. I didn't do it because, I didn't go, let me come to court.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't.
He thought that was his My Cousin Vinny moment there,
Yeah.
and
Right.
ultimately, sure, whatever. But the one thing for me, I think they really underestimated who I was and how much knowledge
Right.
I have about the business. I really don't think they knew that was going to be a severe disadvantage to what I found out. His team, who I like the lawyers. I've gotten to know them over the course of the
Right.
trial. They're very nice, and they're going to do good things for the profession. But they didn't care to know or didn't know what I knew. And
Right.
I don't think even Chase really knew that I knew just all the terms, all the, workshoot, all of this.
Right.
And to a jury, it looked like I had the upper hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, not to toot my own horn, but I really think that played a big deal in terms of preparing, getting the evidence
Right.
needed, and just to show that it's not what they're trying to say. There's actually a lot else happening here.
He was putting these random price tags on people too. I had a conversation with Brian Fury downstairs.
Yeah, I actually was talking to Brian Fury when he was up.
Yeah.
Before I got called, he was before me.
I just wanted to. That was just something that I needed to have with him, but the price of how much money they wanted kept changing. Okay, he was saying that I was the reason why Davian left. He was saying that losing Brian Fury, that Brian was worth $50,000.
Yeah, that's
He's saying that they were making over $100,000 a year in revenue. That's not true.
right.
It's not true.
No, I believe that's not true.
At the end
It's
of
a
it,
lot of money to earn, and I'm sorry, but I can't see a wrestling company that's not on television making that kind of money.
and then I think the number changed in one day. It went from like 180 to like 210. They were trying to get like $200,000 from me, and it's
Loss of patrons, loss of 2 students, loss of 2 prospective trainers, all of whom were female. But, again, I think the Brian Fury allegations had more to do with that than anything some anonymous Twitter account would have said.
Right.
The Brian Fury loss, they were attributing solely to Butterscotch Boss. So, and that number kept changing, correct. But also, they had not one document, not one balance sheet,
No
not
financials.
one accounting. They had absolutely zero documents to show the court.
And they're saying they make all this money.
And ultimately, one of the 3 remaining cases, there was charges. There was 6 counts against him, 3 of which got disposed of, and one of them got thrown out after the plaintiffs presented their case.
Okay.
So only 2
there's only 2
charges
left.
went to the jury.
Right.
And
Yep.
one of those charges had a lot to do with, can you show the damages? Can you prove the damages to the business? And no, they couldn't. So the judge said, all right, I'm not even letting this go to a jury. I'm kicking it out. And so ultimately, they had for evidence. I don't know how this case went as far as it did.
Right.
I really don't.
I will say this. if he's so worried about Davian, how come she hasn't wrestled for Chaotic in 6 months?
Right.
Oh, seriously.
Right.
She's back wrestling, and she ain't booked there.
Yeah.
But, you know.
I didn't see that one coming because I've only crossed paths with her a couple times at NECW.
Yeah.
And, she's very nice. And
what
she's a powerhouse in the ring, too.
Dude, seriously, I would not be surprised if she's the next one signed around here. I really wouldn't be.
Yeah, she's really good.
We'd love to see it.
Yeah, and the amount just kept changing and changing, and it's, I just had to sit there and just take it. I just had to take it and take it and take it. I've learned to deal with my anger a lot better.
Right.
Getting into the field that I'm in now has helped me a lot.
Oh, I'm sure it has. Yeah.
And what did I lose out of this? Well, I lost 30 grand. Wow. Okay. So this cost me 30 grand.
Yeah.
Could I have done something else with 30 grand? Yeah, I could have.
Yeah, you could have. Yeah.
But I really had to clear my name.
Right.
I really
I'm glad
did.
you got to.
Yeah, I really did. And I'm not mad at Kevin. I just wish when I see people, something like this, right? It's a criminal act.
Right.
Okay. People that extort or people that take all this time to come up with this plot of how they're going to attack somebody.
Right.
Allegedly.
Yep.
These are malicious criminal thoughts.
Right.
Okay. This isn't just
somebody
who does this.
Right.
So I've been kind of teetering with, is he a criminal?
Allegedly.
Or is he allegedly a criminal and he just wants to attack and whatever?
Right.
Or is he just not comfortable in his own skin? Is he somebody who's not happy with who he is?
Right.
And if that's the case, I feel bad for him.
Right.
'Cause
I don't think it's that one, to be honest with you. I think he allegedly had, trying to go after you. Obviously that's what happened because he did.
I mean, you dig your heels in for 4 years, and you just, with the amount of evidence they had, which was next to none, and I can't recall how many times a judge would bring us to sidebar away from the jury and say, you better make your point, you better make it quick, because, all of your grounds for this are very, very thin.
Right.
And so, to just keep pushing the envelope and keep going and keep going and keep investing money into this and anybody with common sense would look at this and say, this isn't a viable case. Right. And have I wanted to bring frivolous lawsuit motions? I tried to at the beginning, but legally speaking, the way the parameters of the law work, their complaint was sufficient enough for it to go to the next stage, whether it had true statements in it or not. And ultimately, by the time it got to a jury and I could have filed a frivolous lawsuit motion, at that point, we were just happy with the verdict.
Yep. Right.
First answer, no, we were out of there.
Right.
I just said, you know what, let it be what it is.
Yeah.
We've already put way too much time, way too much effort, way too much energy into it. And I'm just grateful and thankful that all of our hard work got to the result that we knew would ultimately be the result, but it just took us a really long time to get there.
I can honestly say not once did I say to myself, if there's an opportunity to countersue to make some money back, should I do it? I didn't want to do it.
Right.
I
just wanted it to be over.
Right. Like even if I knew there was money there.
Right.
Okay. Kevin knew that he could come after me.
Right.
And maybe try to attach something that I own. He knew.
Allegedly.
Yes, allegedly.
I'm doing my job.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to sue somebody that has $5. You're not going to sue them for $10, right?
Right.
Because they don't have it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, that goes back to, I had a great relationship with Kevin Quinn. And that's what's been really bothering me about Kevin.
Yeah.
Because, and I'm not going to get into specifics, but I was there for Kevin Quinn for a lot of conversation. He has a very broken relationship in his life. Okay?
Yep.
And I was always there to support him through that.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
I might be in the wrong for saying this, but he did me dirty.
That's too bad.
Okay?
It really is.
So now I can honestly say that broken relationship that he has in his life, that's on him.
Yep.
That's his fault.
Yeah.
Okay?
I hear you.
That's his fault. All right? And I would say it right to his face if he was right here.
Right.
Okay?
Yep.
This is 4 years of redemption coming to a head.
Yeah. Now, was Kevin called? Mm-hmm. He was, okay.
He was. He was a witness for Chase.
Yeah. A lot of his facts didn't really, I mean, he had, they asked him how many times did he referee for me. He said once, which is not true. Multiple. He was, he reffed my match with Vader at Big Time Wrestling.
Oh, wow. No kidding.
All the Brian Fury matches that I had. I mean, he's been my ref for, he's taken care of me. We used to have a really good relationship, and I didn't think he was going to kind of turn on me. But I get it. He's the head referee at Chaotic.
Yeah, I hear you.
And he doesn't want to bite the hand that feeds him. I get it.
Allegedly.
Right.
Allegedly, yeah. But I'm that's going to bother me for a long time.
I'm sure it is.
The other thing, too, while we're talking about witnesses, I think another big surprise for me during the trial was Brian Fury coming.
Yeah.
I didn't have many doubts about this case and being able to defend it.
Right.
I'm a personal injury attorney.
Yep.
Like 95% of the time. I don't do defamation cases, but I was more than happy to do it, obviously, for my friend Brian.
Right.
Learned a lot on the way, so thanks for that, pal.
Yeah.
But
I think we both learned a lot.
we did.
I'm sure you did.
Yeah, we did.
The one thing, while I didn't have many doubts about winning the jury over and giving them the facts and getting the result we wanted, having Fury there was really what tipped the scales, because he was able to dispel key pieces of evidence that really turned things around. And to his credit, I give him a lot of credit for showing up.
Yeah.
This is something he did not want to be involved in. I know he was, from what I understand, he was asked by Chase to testify for them, and he chose not to. He answered my subpoena, which, again, I thank him for that.
Right.
Absolutely.
I didn't call him to bury him. I didn't call him to do anything. I just wanted him to tell the truth.
Yep.
And he did that.
It's funny because if you look at the original complaint that we received in 2020, right? We get this complaint, and let's backpedal a little bit. When Chase was going on Twitter, calling me out.
Right.
Then he started calling out my wife.
Come on.
He started calling out the department that she worked for, to which I was notified by somebody at the department about that.
Yeah.
So he started making it very personal.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you looked at the complaint, right, you would have thought I was being sued by Brian Fury and Kevin.
Right.
But Brian was never named as a plaintiff.
Right.
Chase used Brian, his name, his likeness. He put a phony price tag on him. He was trying to use other people to extort money from me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly.
Thank you.
I'll get it eventually.
I
Right?
got
I got 25 minutes.
Because I don't want to get in trouble
I know.
either.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things I'd love to say, but I know I can't.
Yeah, I know.
well.
Yeah. But it's one of those things where when we were reading it 4 years ago, I'm like, who am I being sued by?
Right.
Who's coming after me? We couldn't figure it out.
No, seriously, at first you couldn't?
No, it was because and then come to find out he was, Brian had nothing to do with it.
Right. Brian's a good guy. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, and I know, like, we had talked about what had happened, but I mean, it was nothing sexual or anything like that. It was verbal,
verbal.
and now as a father of daughters, it's kind of disturbing.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
But as a person, Brian's a good guy. Yeah. He really is.
He took me into when he was running the training center, and I, was just finishing up at APW. I wanted to get a couple of training sessions in. He welcomed me in with open arms. He said, hey, just pay me the $10 and come whenever you want. And, he's super nice. He was super giving. He gave a lot to the world of professional wrestling, and I think
he did.
People were really quick to dispel that. I mean, he's responsible for Chaotic being what it is.
Right.
I mean, Chaotic was always a big thing, but he kept that going. He
sure
kept
did,
the tradition going, and he made a lot of good stars with good fundamentals. So
I walked into the Chaotic Training Center maybe hours that it was open.
Oh, wow.
Okay, hours. Okay, and Mike Hollow, Jamie, Dukes, and Brian Fury later. Those are the guys that built that place.
Right.
And all the students.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
Okay.
What about Arch? Was he involved in that at all? Arch Kincaid?
Yeah. So all the Kowalski guys came over
Right.
It was
And that's like Dodge.
yeah, it was
he's a
Arch.
Kowalski
It was
guy,
Aaron Stevens. I don't want to use real names, but it was Good Times, Vince Vicalo.
Yep.
So all those guys were already students.
Right.
And then I had gone to Walters to sign up, but eventually got kicked back down to the Chaotic Training Center. And the first 5 students were myself, Pete Malloy, Minnie, Andre, and then Lemonhead, Mark Moment.
All those guys. I don't know Pete, but I know the others. I love all of them.
And then
I gotta know Pete soon.
Right after that, a couple other guys started filing in.
Right.
But I mean, those are the guys that built Chaotic.
Yeah.
Especially Mike Hollow and Dukes.
Oh, no doubt.
I'm gonna tell you right now, those two were the primary trainers.
Right.
Working with everybody. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Maybe we should let him ask a question. We've been rambling on
know.
for the
It's
last.
all right. Well, listen.
Yeah, sorry.
There's another. Mav has a question. Does Brian wish to continue wrestling? And if he does he feel that, regardless of being on the winner's side, that will negatively affect your efforts?
It's a really good question.
Very good question.
It's a really good. Thanks, Mav.
Mav's a great guy too.
He is. Love Mav.
I understand what he's asking, and here's how I'm going to answer it. This whole thing with this trial ends today. When I leave here today,
It's over.
well, I'm not talking about this again.
Good.
Nor would I ever use this to try to get a booking.
Right.
I would. This is over.
Right.
Okay. Nick and I have talked about, somewhere down the road doing something
Yep.
on a show. I have shows that I can get booked on, as
Right.
can he.
Yep.
But I would never use this to my advantage or to my disadvantage because, again, I'm not proud of this, and I also don't want to see Chase get hurt by this either.
I hear
I
you.
think everyone should just move on from
But
this.
I don't think he cared about you, though. Allegedly.
Yeah.
There you go. You're picking
You
it
know
up.
what I mean?
I mean, I honestly don't know because he didn't look at me once
No.
in 2 weeks that we were there. He never looked at me. I walked in every morning and said good morning to him and his attorneys.
Yep.
Okay, I never got one reaction from him, and that's fine, totally fine. We don't know each other.
Right.
I don't know him personally.
Anymore. You don't know each other.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But no, I don't think it would negatively affect me. I really don't.
I don't think it would either.
And if I went to a show and somebody brought it up, I just don't really want to talk about it.
That's it. And that's all you got to say. And people should, respect that.
Right. Because, my reputation, I used to have a very sour reputation in wrestling. And it was because of the way I treated people,
Right.
the way I acted. I didn't come around. I didn't take training seriously. I would show up whenever I wanted to.
Right.
And it would rub people the wrong way, rightfully so.
Right.
I learned from those mistakes. I certainly did.
Right.
But, no, I don't think it would negatively affect it.
I don't think so either. I
at
really
all.
don't. Mav's got another question.
Okay.
Did anyone at any point just shrug their shoulders and wonder, what the hell are we doing here?
Yeah. So we actually had a juror.
Oh, this is a good one.
We had a juror 2 or 3 days in send in a note to the court before the next day's session went. And he basically said, I don't know what the hell we're all doing here.
Yeah, he was
feel
pissed.
this to be a frivolous lawsuit.
Wow.
I don't care who wins. I want to get out of here. This
Yeah.
is, I think this is ridiculous. And the judge rightfully had to kick him off the jury.
Right.
We had 2 other alternates who ultimately, all of the alternates got the vote. So instead of 12, we actually had 13 jurors that were voting.
Right.
But you could tell that a lot of jurors over the course of, again, it was 2 weeks.
Yeah.
They just, they were going from like up here writing down to this, to this.
Right.
Yeah. It was a good thing that I used all my vacation time and took the summer off this
There you
year
go, yeah.
because
Right.
I definitely needed the time.
Yeah.
What about during the jury pooling process where we had to pick the jury?
Yeah.
So there was a lawyer actually in the jury pool.
Right.
And he came up and he was,
We had to do voir dire. We
Yeah.
had to make sure that each juror was appropriate to be sitting as a, like if they had any biases or
Yeah.
issues.
he was dancing around this and we kind of, our theory was, so he basically said that Charlie Cashew had reached out to him for a lawsuit against somebody
Wow.
and he couldn't be here. It was a conflict of interest.
Right.
So we had assumed it might have been that whole Johnny Vegas,
Right.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
allegedly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And while we're on that, again, Johnny Vegas was never taken to court.
Right.
Okay. And people can get mad about what I'm about to say, and that's fine. I really think there needs to come a point in time, whether I initiate it or somebody else.
Right.
I think we need to look more into that Johnny Vegas situation.
Right.
And maybe clear that man's name. Because I saw how upset Mav got on your show.
Oh, he was pissed.
And I'm going to tell you something right now.
He was pissed.
Mav's not always been the biggest fan of mine, and I think it's because of the way I used to act.
Okay.
But I think Mav likes me.
Oh, yeah. Mav's a good guy, and he knows what's right and what's wrong.
That bothered me, that he came on the show and he was upset.
He was pissed.
And I saw how upset somebody like him with his experience and knowledge,
Yeah.
to get that upset, something wasn't right.
Right.
Okay, something's not right about that Johnny Vegas situation. Right. We'll leave it alone for now, but I think there's more to that.
Well, I got something to tell you. Allegedly, Kevin was sending messages to people in the wrestling business to, if you do business with Mav, you have nothing to do. I won't do business with you. Somebody that he sent it to Mav.
And allegedly, that was evidence that I had in my binder that I presented to Kevin, which didn't make it into evidence due to authentication issues. But it was there, and
Right.
it said exactly what you said.
It's ridiculous, And Mav, he tried to sit there and say that, Mav defends a pedophile. Well, wait a minute. You're talking about a 30-year friendship that he's had. Never seen anything like what they're saying. Do you know what I mean? And it all blew up because of a picture at the Elite Pro Wrestling Academy. Was that because of because of Mike Hollow's reputation as a hell of a trainer?
Yeah.
Competition?
I've always liked Johnny Vegas. We have mutual friends.
Yep.
Because he was a Merrimack Valley
Right.
Mainstay for the longest time.
That's how I know him.
When Kevin, now after our match, Kevin and I shook hands. He was paid very well for it.
Yeah.
The day of the show, he demanded more money. He held me up for more money. Wow. To which I agreed to.
Yeah.
Because I wanted him there.
Yeah.
Part of me.
So did you pay him?
I did.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Wow.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I hear. That's.
I was.
You wanted the match against him anyways. You wanted the match because, would it helped your career with that, right? To have a good match with a guy that's very well respected as a wrestler. I
had a little more pull behind the scenes of UFO than people knew.
Right.
Okay?
Yep.
And I just wanted, I almost called an audible. I almost made it a tag match. I almost said, we're going to be a tag, because I thought him and I would be a great tag team.
Right.
Can you imagine Chase and I getting heat from people?
No, I hear you. Yeah, absolutely.
It would
he's
work.
A good heel. When he's a heel, he's a good heel.
Right. It would definitely
He
work.
is.
And then Pat Dillon came up to me and said, hey, listen, he goes, is everything going to be okay with you and Chase? I said, what do you mean? He goes, Rich Palladino told me not to let you guys in the ring together.
Wow.
And I was like, why? And I couldn't understand why. I didn't know what was going on.
Right.
But I guess Chase had been talking about how he didn't want to do the match. He didn't want to, all this kind of stuff. But we had shaken hands and we were fine. We were good the rest of the night.
Yeah.
But Johnny Vegas was standing right behind me and he comes up to me after and he goes, I just wanted to be there because I thought you were going to kill him for the way he was talking to you. And I'm like, no, I took it.
Right.
And I wasn't mad at him yelling at me. That's just the way he does things.
Right.
I just kind of took it as, he was giving me some advice.
Right.
That's all. Because, yeah. I did warn him. I said my punches are a little, they're a little heavy. But it's independent wrestling.
Right.
I'm not going to throw feathers.
No, exactly. You shouldn't be throwing feathers.
No, it's because then you got the front row chanting fake, and never.
No, I hear you.
Absolutely not.
I hear you.
So.
Now I got to ask you, how bad did Vader stiff you? They say he's like one of the stiffest of all time.
Can I tell the story real quick?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So
real quick, you said.
No, this is a good one. So that was the tail end of the big time wrestling kind of like, remember they used to do like a long tour?
Yep.
So he had worked with me, Jimmy Preston, in, who's that Flex Armstrong.
Yes. Yeah, Flex Armstrong.
The night before Vader and I wrestled in Lynn,
Jimmy
Preston no-sold the Vader bomb.
Ooh, Jesus.
So
wow.
He gets the Vader bomb and he got right back up and walked out back. So now Vader walks into Lynn, Massachusetts, not in the greatest of moods.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
I went up to him, I shook his hand, showed him nothing but respect, all that kind of stuff. But I was in a tough spot that night because he was pissed.
Right.
Okay?
Right. Yeah.
But we were fine. He told me, he goes, react to everything I do. He goes, don't put your hands up, don't block me, just react.
Right.
I did it. We had the match. He was happy. Gave me a big hug after.
That's awesome.
Smiled.
Yeah.
And then,
Vader's one of my favorite big men of all time.
yeah, I mean,
I loved him.
He was super happy with the match. I mean, I listened to everything he said.
Nice.
And he had tripped in the middle of the match and fell on me, right? So he falls on me, right? And he goes, kick out. I go, there's no ref. And he goes, ref. Because, I mean, there was nobody to count, whatever. But, he apologized for that. But no, he was great.
That's awesome.
No, he was great. I mean, it was awesome. Yeah, he was really cool.
Very cool. Before we get back to Pat Dillon wants it. I want to know if Brian still has. He called it Fago, but he meant he called it Fago.
Okay.
But Fago in your hair from the Haverhill street fight with Vern Vicalo at UFO.
Yeah, man, that stung.
Yeah.
Holy moly. Yeah, that was just one of those things where Vern somebody had a bottle of that Fago stuff.
Yeah.
Soda, whatever it is. Somebody had it in the crowd, and so Vern just kind of grabbed it and dumped it on me, and I'm like, what is that? But it was fun.
Sticky Fago.
Yeah.
All right, Joe Moakley, for Nick, what was your favorite APW moment?
Oh, Joe.
And keep killing it in life, my friend. You are blessed.
Oh, stop it.
Joe's a good dude. Joe's a
APW,
real
man,
good dude.
I owe so much to APW.
Yeah.
I had so much fun there. I was trained, after our little, I don't want to say backyard thing, we were running real shows, but after I stopped doing our shows, I sold my little pony ring, and I got in with Derek Mitchell, Golden Boy, Derek Andrews.
Yep.
Shout out to the Golden Boy. And I was actually training in his ring with Julian Starr, of all people. So we were
Nice.
kind of like doing that.
Rylan Renoir.
Yeah, they had a match with Rylan Renoir.
Yeah.
And
Julian
that
was good
great.
back then, though. Like when Julian first started,
Remember when he was in incredible shape?
Yeah.
He was unbelievable.
Yeah,
He was a great worker.
just so
he,
fun.
He did the chaotic countdown one time, not that long ago, and he did the triple moonsault. I mean, it was impressive.
He was so fun to
he was
wrestle.
very advanced.
Yeah,
he was.
He was a good worker.
But eventually that thing stopped ceasing to happen, but it became APW. Somehow, some way, I get the call from, I think it's Joe and Uncle Eddie and Big Woody. God rest Big Woody. So
Big Woody,
Yeah,
the
man,
man.
I miss that guy.
Me too.
And they said, hey, we have in Newbury, it's close to you, because I was just starting law school, and a little before that, they said, can you come up? So I come up. My favorite moment, and just, again, pop in APW. They just ran great shows, great production, great crowds.
Consistent.
Very, very,
Now, did
very
Derek do
consistent.
the production back then?
He did.
Okay, I was going to say, because
He did.
he's really good at
And he
it.
did a terrific job.
Yeah.
Some would say he really made it look legit, and it was legit because
Yep.
we had Demon Ortiz, we had John Poe, we had
John Walters.
John Walton.
we had a great locker room.
Right.
Great locker room. And, I had so much fun there. I had a little program with Todd Sopel, who took really good care of me. People
Another heat
say
magnet.
Yeah. No doubt.
People have opinions about Todd Sopel, but he
Yeah.
was always really good to me.
Well, that's good. That's good.
And
He was safe, too. From what I saw, I had my issues with Todd, too.
Me too.
But you got to give the guy his due.
He's a good talker, not
Yeah.
a bad worker.
No.
Just not good with people.
Right.
That's the only thing. Honestly, he's not very good one-on-one talking with people.
But he's had matches with some pretty
Yeah.
reputable guys.
And he can work.
Yeah.
And he can talk really good.
Right.
And I don't know if you know that, but you ever see him play the guitar? Because I've seen videos.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's not bad.
Dude,
shreds
he's
it.
incredible,
Yeah.
man.
Sorry to
Shreds and
cut you
act.
off.
No, that's all right. I was just saying, I have two favorite moments. So one was winning the APW New England Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah.
That was like my first real
Nice.
title. That was cool. And then for Liberty States, when he was running in Peabody,
Yep.
I had won their heavyweight championship.
Nice.
And I got to wrestle Bob Evans. That was cool.
Nice.
I love Bob.
Yeah,
Bob's been around a long time.
He's
man.
he actually shows that him and I we used to run shows.
Yeah.
And Bob would show up to him.
Nice.
And he would just like show up to you know
Got
what I
it
mean,
out.
like which
Yeah.
I was totally fine with. Yeah.
Yeah.
Having in the locker room there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
You know.
And my first time I ever saw him, no to lie, he probably wasn't wrestling more than 6 months, and he was playing this gimmick, the centerfold, and he had a disposable camera, and he's laying in the ring taking pictures before the match. Hilarious.
Yeah.
But Bob's trained a lot of guys too. Yeah.
And you know what? He made it a point at that show. I believe he wanted to wrestle me, and because he saw a lot of potential, and he was just the gift that kept on giving in that match. He taught me so much in just one match, and he really took the time to really instill a lot of different things, and I'm very appreciative of that. And I can honestly say in my entire wrestling career, I'm very appreciative to every single person, Demon Ortiz, everybody in APW, Bo Douglas, Big Jim Sargent.
I love
the best.
Big Gun.
The best.
He was my first match ever.
Really?
Yeah,
I think you said that on here before. Yeah, you did.
Just
He's a good
Uncle
guy.
Eddie, Big Woody, they all were just so nice, and they were so just giving of their time. And so that's why my best moment was just APW as a whole, because it really just was a great place if you were young, green, trying to make your way. That was just
There was always a crowd there too, which is like when it goes back to what I said about consistent.
Yeah.
I remember Big Woody called me over at UFO one time, and he goes, "Privitera," he goes, "You know no one likes you, right?" I go, "Yeah." I go, he goes.
He's a straight shooter now, Woody.
He goes,
He was.
"But I like you. I just can't get caught talking to you." That's fine. Speaking of Joe Moakley, not for nothing, and him and I have never really seen eye to eye, but a certain somebody said to me one time, "I would have loved to have seen you and Joe as a tag team."
That would have been good.
And I know Joe's got a theater background, which I do as well.
Right.
Believe it or not, when I was in high school, I was a theater geek.
Yeah.
But I think Joe Moakley and I could really make a good tag team.
And he still wants to wrestle.
Yeah.
He was here a couple months ago.
He looks great.
He does look great.
Yeah, he does.
And like you said, though, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
He really is. Yeah. Listen, Sonny had a few questions.
Okay.
All right. I don't know if you answered this right. When did you first hear about being subpoenaed?
2020?
Yeah, so 2020, right after Chase was firing off those tweets,
Which I never saw.
which he never saw, I had gotten a hold of them, and I sent them to you, and somebody else had sent them to you at that point too.
Yeah, and we did a cease and desist, actually.
I sent him a cease and desist on Facebook Messenger saying, hey, like, cut the shit. Like, I don't know, you're bringing his wife's business into it, you're bringing his wife into it, like, knock it off.
Yeah.
And then that was in June, and then in September, late September, I get a call from him saying, I just got served a huge envelope with all these papers in it. And it was like a 100-page long complaint. I said, you got to be shitting me. Wow. So that was the beginning of 4 years of chaos.
Right. And
No pun intended.
No pun intended.
the next question was, what was your relationship with Chase before him? But we already answered it.
No, again, you know what's funny is, so way back in the day, I used to live with Minnie and Andre.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, we had an apartment in Haverhill together.
That was my favorite tag team for a long time.
Yeah, I mean,
A-list.
it was the closest thing to the Playboy Mansion that you could.
Right.
I don't know. Is my wife here?
No, I believe it.
So, and we were having fun. Believe it or not, all those years, and I think that maybe Chase was maybe down in Delaware wrestling.
But working for the ECWA. Yeah.
We never crossed paths.
Right.
I remember there was one time there was a Super Bowl. We were at a bar. I think that would have been that time we were going to meet, but he never showed up.
Right.
I didn't meet him until 2020.
Wow.
That was the first time we ever met.
No kidding.
So
Crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Was there any information that you were surprised to hear?
I mean, obviously, Chase had gotten up on the stand and had said, because of me,
Right.
I had ruined his relationship with his girlfriend. He had to break up with his girlfriend because of me.
Chase's girlfriend.
Yes. So he said in court that I was the reason why he had to part ways with his girlfriend.
He was having nightmares,
yeah,
sleepless nights.
Yeah, he was having sleepless nights and nightmares. He had to break it off with the girlfriend.
Yeah.
And then it just turned into I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway. It just turned into this one distorted episode of Will and Grace.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. No, right.
Okay, so, and everything he was saying just wasn't adding up. It just wasn't making any sense.
Yeah. He didn't like you, man. There's no doubt. I mean, he came after you, and that's wrong.
I agree.
I really do. I mean, I don't know. I like you, Brian. You know what I mean? And I liked you before, but when you met Nicole, you went far and beyond to make her feel like the most important person in that pizza place. And that went a long way.
I appreciate that.
You know what I mean? Plus, your brother's friends with a family member of mine, Brian. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I teased the crap out of you when you had your first match with Malonis. I was all on Malonis' side.
Listen, I learned very early on that I'm not Mr. Technical.
Right.
I'm not John Walters.
Yeah.
People want to see me get beat up.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that.
Right.
It's a show.
Yep.
Okay. I can go out there. I'll get beat up. Throw sodas. Do whatever you want. You know what I mean? I shave my beard off.
Right.
I'll do it all. Okay. The problem is though, is if you're gonna come after me, like if you're really gonna try to like hurt my family and hurt me, you really want to really think about it.
Yep.
Because I'm not gonna tolerate it. That was his first mistake, was coming after me.
Right.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I wish it never happened.
Right.
I wish I could say that we're friends, and I wish that I could say that I go down to his school and I help his students develop characters,
Yep.
which I'm good at.
Right.
But it's not the case.
Right.
And it's unfortunate.
Yep.
It really is.
I think at this point it's just important to say that we don't wish ill will on anybody.
Right.
We want the promotion to do well. We want Chaotic to do well.
Yep.
If you're a student, you can still get a terrific education there.
Absolutely.
Those fantasy camps,
Absolutely.
you should absolutely sign up for those.
They're fantastic.
Go to the shows,
Yeah.
support your local independent
Yeah.
professional wrestling,
Yeah.
whether
I
that's
said it-
WFA, Chaotic,
Yeah.
wherever. There's plenty
I
of
said
good
it
wrestling
on the
to be had.
stand that, the company's doing great. The school is doing fantastic.
Yeah.
Let's keep it going.
You know?
There's enough for everybody to flourish.
Exactly.
I
All
mean,
right.
just do the math. Look at the fantasy camp photo, right? Let's say there's 100 people in the photo, times $79.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cash.
Yeah.
All right, he's doing well.
Talking about 10 grand.
Yeah, in one day.
Yeah, in one day.
Right.
Good. In
Right.
one day.
Pretty
All right.
good.
Sonny also wants to know, was there ever a thought in your mind that you would lose the case?
No.
Nice.
No,
Good.
I mean, know,
Good.
it's. Did I envision myself going down to the bank and pulling out 200 grand and handing over, a suitcase full of cash to Chase?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought about it.
Right.
Which I would have had to have done if I lost.
Right.
But I was confident.
Good.
I need to just, when you go in front of a jury, there's a 50-50 chance. You never know what the hell is going to happen because a jury is a jury. You get all walks of life coming in there.
Right.
You never know. But I felt very confident in our evidence, our presentation, and just knowing that everything in that complaint was
Put a lot
not
of work into
true.
this.
I knew it was on our side.
Nice. Real quick, last question. Any surprise witnesses? These are from Sonny.
Again, I
Simon Gregory. I never met the guy.
Oh, really?
I didn't know who he was.
Right.
And so he was, I don't know. Yeah, he just came out of nowhere.
yeah, he didn't have a lot of, good things to offer that really changed anybody's opinion. But
Right.
I was, like I said, surprised that Fury showed up.
Right.
And again, he was a pivotal witness for us, and I'm glad we got him in.
Absolutely.
One last thing. Do you guys know who Mayor McCheese was?
Yes.
I do too.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. I was told by somebody that I trust
Yeah.
that Mayor McCheese is Chase Del Monte.
I think I found out who Mayor McCheese was and I said it, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden Mayor McCheese
Is gone.
walked away. He's very close with Chase.
My guess would have been Scott Guerin, but
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
we don't know.
We don't know.
Guys, Nick, thanks, man.
Thank you.
Brian.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure, guys.
Thank you.
Guys, we're out. Peace. Hi, guys. I hope you're enjoying the show. Listen, I could use a little help to grow my YouTube channel. So if you could please like, share, and subscribe, that's most importantly, subscribe. Send me a direct message, and I'll give you a shout out here on the show. My YouTube channel is real simple. It's just my name, Leo Connors. Thanks in advance. Peace.